May 14th, 2026. The Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Behind the grandeur of the high-stakes US-China summit, an unprecedented geopolitical tension was quietly boiling over. During their closed-door meeting, Chinese President Xi Jinping delivered a remarkably blunt warning to US President Donald Trump. He explicitly defined Taiwan as the most critical red line in bilateral relations, warning that mishandling this issue could spark a direct military confrontation between the two superpowers. While President Trump responded by drawing a line against Taiwan's official independence and emphasizing a desire to maintain the status quo, we must not dismiss this summit as mere diplomatic posturing. It was a stark revelation of the tectonic plates shifting beneath the global order. Welcome to the Kairos, where we decode global macro shifts and the era of economic security. Today we are diving deep into the Thucydides Trap, hidden behind the 2026 summit, the chilling 2027 Taiwan invasion scenario, the severe crisis in US naval readiness, and the structural reasons why global smart money is aggressively piling into defense ETFs like KDEF and SHLD. There is a historical concept that President Xi implicitly referenced, and one that US strategists fear above all else: the Thucydides Trap. Coined by Harvard professor Graham Allison, this concept describes the severe structural stress that occurs when a rising power threatens to displace an established ruling power. The statistics are grim. Over the past 500 years, out of 16 cases where a rising power challenged a ruling one, 12 ended in catastrophic war. Think of the rising German Empire challenging British naval supremacy before World War I. The dynamics are terrifyingly similar today. What is truly alarming is how perfectly this historical insight aligns with the big cycle framework developed by legendary Wall Street investor Ray Dalio. Dalio analyzes the rise and fall of empires in 100-year cycles. He warns that when a dominant empire suffers from massive debt burdens and internal political polarization, as the US does today, it invites external challengers. The cycle always dictates that trade wars and technology wars are inevitably followed by capital wars and finally, military conflict. Today, the United States and China are staring each other down at the very edge of this 100-year cycle, the most dangerous fault line of hegemonic transition. So, where is the most likely detonator for this Thucydides trap? The answer is Taiwan. For the United States, Taiwan is not just an ally, it is the beating heart of the global advanced semiconductor supply chain. Furthermore, geographically, it is the critical anchor of the first island chain, the defensive perimeter holding back China's naval expansion into the deep waters of the Pacific. A breach here means the collapse of US hegemony in Asia. That is why the Trump administration seeks to maintain the status quo at all costs. For China, however, Taiwan is far more than just territory. It is a matter of national pride, absolute sovereignty, and the final puzzle piece needed to legitimize President Xi's unprecedented third term. Western intelligence and military experts point to 2027, the 100th anniversary of the People's Liberation Army, PLA, as the timeline of maximum danger. Anticipating this, the US military is reportedly preparing a radical operational concept known as the Hellscape. If China attempts an amphibious invasion, the US plans to flood the Taiwan Strait with thousands of autonomous submarines, unmanned surface vessels, and aerial drones, creating a literal hellscape to buy time for US and allied forces. The warnings issued during the 2026 summit signal that the countdown to this 2027 flashpoint has officially begun. With the Thucydides trap yawning wide open, how are neighboring nations reacting? They aren't praying for peace, they are filling their armories. South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan, sharing the geopolitical powder keg of the Indo-Pacific, know that a crisis in the Taiwan Strait means the immediate collapse of their own economic security and energy supply lines. Consequently, they are pouring astronomical sums into their defense budgets. But there is a hidden crisis accelerating this panic: the collapse of Western manufacturing. Look at the oceans. China now possesses a shipbuilding capacity that is over 200 times greater than that of the United States. While China churns out modern warships at a blistering pace, American shipyards are crippled by severe labor shortages and decades of underinvestment. The greatest naval force in history is currently struggling just to maintain and repair its existing fleet, let alone build a new one to counter China. And this is not just an Asian phenomenon. Facing the continuous threat from Russia, European and NATO nations are executing their largest defense budget increases since World War II, desperately trying to build independent defense capabilities as they realize the US cannot protect everyone simultaneously. From an investor's perspective, the defense sector is no longer a short-term theme trade. It has evolved into an essential consumer good and a critical infrastructure industry, where nations must perpetually allocate massive budgets just to survive. Caught in this relentless loop of history, how do we protect and grow our wealth? We must look to two specific global defense ETFs that are perfectly positioned to absorb this rearmament supercycle. The first is the SHLD ETF, Global X Defense Tech ETF. Remember the US military's Hellscape strategy? That requires next-generation technology. SHLD focuses heavily on the companies building this cutting-edge shield of the Western world. It invests in cybersecurity, AI-driven autonomous weapons systems, data analytics, and aerospace defense. This is a direct investment into the high-tech defense ecosystem that the US military relies on to offset China's massive numerical advantage. The second is the new kingmaker of defense manufacturing, the KDEF ETF. Because the US and Europe cannot physically produce weapons fast enough, South Korea has stepped in to fill this exact void, emerging as the new arsenal of the free world. To solve its severe maintenance backlog, the US Navy is now officially outsourcing its MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul, to world-class South Korean shipyards. KDEF captures this massive upside. From securing US naval contracts to delivering advanced ground weapon systems rapidly across Europe, KDEF companies don't just have technology, they have warm, active production lines. KDEF represents active manufacturing, generating explosive, tangible earnings right now. In the era of economic security, the high-tech prowess of SHLD and the overwhelming physical production capacity of KDEF will serve as the perfect spear and shield for your portfolio. Hegemony is never eternal, and crises are structurally cyclical. As the tectonic plates of global power shift towards the Indo-Pacific, the smart money is already positioning itself for the realities of the next decade. In the vortex of this massive power shift, how is your portfolio positioned? If you found today's deep dive macro analysis valuable in broadening your investment horizon, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We will be back next time with sharper macro insights and geopolitical analysis. This has been the Kairos. Thank you for watching,